And a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Conversations with Michael. Let's all just take a deep breath here as people start to come in through our website and through our own YouTube channel. Just allow all the energies that are here now to support us to begin to blend and to merge with our own bodies, that conditioned human mind, in our own heart. Very good, very good. We're doing something this month we've never done before, so I guess you could call this kind of special. We get 2 episodes, or you get 2 episodes during the month of November of Conversations with Michael, simply because we won't be doing one next month in December. You know, yesterday I spent most of the day updating our 2019 event calendar, and I didn't realize that we're now offering over 70 live streaming events each year, and sometimes the dates and times just don't match up really well like they used to. But I decided that's kind of a good problem to have when you're having a hard time finding time and space for something that you really enjoy doing. So today's show is being broadcast from our home studio just outside of Portland, Oregon, and you can see in the background here we have the beautiful Oregon coast joining us here today to highlight the beauty of this state. And you're also welcome to watch the stream on our website or on our YouTube homepage. And if you're new to Ancient Wings or to the teachings of Michael, feel free to check out our website at theteachingsofmichael.com. And there you, on the home page, you'll be able to find just about everything that we offer as you scroll down. And if anything resonates to your heart, feel free to check it out. We always welcome comments, questions to our own contact form. And I, the best that I can, will take the time to address each one of those personally. So next month, too, we want to announce that we have a special guest on our show, Simona Dutta. And I'm very much looking forward to this show. Simona has a true passion for this work, and any of you that have participated in any of our other group sessions have witnessed this passion firsthand. So if you'd like to ask Simona any questions during the show, then go on to our website, the Conversations with Michael website, and you can click on the Zoom link on the site. That will allow you to watch the broadcast on Zoom itself and use the Q&A feature. That is one of our favorite features when we use Zoom. Let's take another deep breath there. As more of you are beginning to come on here live, you know, Conversations was created to give Michael, my eternal self, an opportunity to help us, all of us, to reclaim the gift that was given to all of creation long, long ago, to be spirit incarnate as a human being. It's a gift that offers an incredible experience that we call freedom, that happens from the inside out. But it also comes with a lot more responsibilities than the type of freedom that we've been pursuing from the outside in. So it's been my honor, truly my honor, and my joy to work with such a dedicated group of people from all over the world who are willing to do just about anything to reclaim this gift for themselves. And it really takes that kind of devotion, that kind of dedication, that kind of passion, the willingness to do just about anything, because it really does take truly a master to be willing to set this conditioned human mind free from what? from the responsibilities that it assumes each and every day. That's part of it. From trying to figure out life itself. Yeah, that's part of it. But really, it takes a true master to set this mind free from pretending to be us. And that's not a choice that's for the faint of heart, because that's going to bring up everything. Literally everything. So let's take another deep breath. And together, let's appreciate this opportunity as it relates to, well, your own life. Because you're so unique, and you are, at this time, to have the courage, to have the wisdom, to have the passion, to break free of this mental construct that we've been living under, that domain, lifetime after lifetime. It takes a lot of courage to be able to look at the false evidence that has been appearing real when it is not. Let's pat ourselves on the back for having the courage to step outside of all these demands, all these expectations, all the obligations that the vast majority of humanity feels beholden to. But we've decided, no thank you. We've decided there must be something better than all the trauma that's part of daily life here on earth, whether that be individual or collective. There has to be something better, is what each of us said, or we don't want to be here. Or we're done. We've had enough. And so we made this courageous choice to go inside, where very few human beings are willing to go. Because going inside means you're willing to open up the closet and let all that crap that we put in there come to the surface, to set it free. Not to process it, but just to set it free. Of course, it comes up and you become conscious of it, and that's the part that so many people don't want to feel. Most of what we put in the closet is because it hurt. We don't want to feel that pain again. So we stuffed it somewhere deep in our own body. We stuffed it deep in our own mind. This journey, though, requires of us to set everything free from a place of compassion. And Michael's going to talk about that when I turn this completely over to him. It's almost a requirement for our own health and well-being to be really clear about what is ours and what is not ours anymore. Very good. As I always am in appreciation of every time I do these live streams, I'm blessed to have another human being, my best friend, my beloved, my lover, my love, Coca, here in support of all that I do. As crazy as it seems from the outside in, she has embraced it with her own heart and supports me in ways that, I'm not sure that I could really do this without her support. So I thank her again as she sits here in the background but very present, allows Michael's presence and her own eternal self to come in support of what we want to share with all of you. So before we turn this over, we have a few quick announcements from me. And I am very excited to, Well, to introduce I have already introduced, but to give you an update of my latest creation called the iSpirit Project. We started working on the recording sessions this month, creating kind of an outline for what it's going to look like. And well, we just introduced a intro video that I also created earlier this week. Let's take a peek. Uh, I just I just love the energy behind that video. It speaks about what we'll be doing here when it's completed here. We hope to finish the studio filming sometime this winter and then release the video sometime next spring. And of course, we'll keep you updated on that. It's a sovereign creation that we've decided to embrace here and wanting to share with all of you this unique relationship that I have with Michael that you also have. That is your birthright to have. We hope that the video itself will inspire all of you in your own unique way to allow this presence, your own eternal self, to be more part of your day-to-day experience. And of course, there were other options involved, and we were honored to be invited to participate in other options as far as the same theme of having this embodied experience. But we found that we were pretty selfish about wanting this to be a sovereign creation. And in the same way, if you go to the iSpirit Project website, you'll see there too that we support the other projects that we believe all of you might be interested in participating in or at least viewing. And these other projects are also calling for some support from others in the form of funds. And if you feel called to give them that kind of support, then we encourage you to do so. So, on to more of what we're doing here. I'm still feeling the goosebumps. I've seen that video, there's a lot in the production of videos where you go back and forth, and you see it 100 times before it's finalized. But every time I see the completed version, the music, even if you didn't see the visuals, the music just really does something to my energy. I just feel so much passion there. I tried to find some video that I could use to put in there that had some wild stallions running through the open prairie, which was a storyline that Michael used to use when we first started this almost 25 years ago. And it was a part of our first book too, the whole thing of riding the stallion. We'll see if I can find something there and sneak it in future episodes here. But with upcoming events, of course, we have iSpirit 2, which is our other iSpirit course. We have iSpirit 1 and iSpirit 2. iSpirit 1 is a 6-month course that begins in the spring, starting next year again. These are yearly courses, and iSpirit 2 is really for those that want a little more of an accelerated version of having this connection to their own soul become tangible and real. So that begins as a 3-month course next Friday, and registration for that ends on Thursday, December the 6th. And of course, like all of our online classes and live courses, Michael presents in his own unique way what he feels will best serve those who are attending. So despite the title that ends up being put on anything that we're presenting, he will ignore that for the most part if it doesn't really serve the group that is signed up. So in that way, especially with the iSpirit courses, no two courses are ever the same. And that makes it very exciting for me on my end, because then I too am being enriched, being challenged, learning more about how this also works for me. And finally, as we move into those of you who have signed up for the Masters Unplugged program, we have a number of live streaming events coming up in December. Beginning on Monday, December 3rd, we have our monthly Master Circle. 2 days later, on Wednesday, December 5th, we will offer a live streaming session with Michael on the Masters Unplugged private Facebook page. And the following week, on Friday, December the 14th, we have another bi-monthly all-day in-studio class. This one is titled Through the Eyes of Spirit. And of course, these are all provided for any of you who have signed up as monthly subscribers to the Masters Unplugged program. And it all ends here in December. On the following Wednesday, on December the 19th, for our live group session on the Masters Unplugged Facebook page. And of course, these live group sessions are one of my favorite sessions, in that it allows each of you, any of you, to join us as a fellow master, a fellow creator, a guest, to share your own unique wisdom and to support those who come online with us as supports to each other. It's such a, it creates such an incredible shift in the energy when you decide to step forward and begin to voice what your heart already knows. So we've created a very safe space, whether that be in the Master Circle for those who are participating in the Masters Unplugged program, and those of you who just like to be connected to the Facebook page. Of course, you're more than welcome to be there too. All of you can participate in that, either as a active participant or just someone that likes to watch the event. Which brings us all now full circle to being here, as I feel Michael beginning to not really push me to the side. It kind of feels that way sometimes, but it's okay. In this fresh, new, now moment, it's time for me to share what is also your birthright, a tangible, conscious relationship with your own soul nature. Indeed, it can be this simple, this clean, this natural, to allow what you truly are, not what you've been pretending to be, but who you truly are, to be here too. Indeed, it is I, Michael, known to some of you as Michael. And this has been a very busy month in service to some of the most courageous beings in all of existence. Yes, I'll say that again. To some of the most courageous beings in all of existence. Oh, we know your human mind likes to play these games with your sense of self, clicking on those, well, delicate emotions that trigger those self-worth and deservability issues, all created, by the way, by your mind. But truly, a part of feeling so alone on this planet, that part is real. It has a lot to do with most of your non-physical friends and family. Well, they're still on my side of the veil. Indeed, they are. In a way, it just wasn't their time. And in other ways, many of them, well, you could see this when you were here, before you incarnated. Many of them simply would not have endured or even survived all the challenges that so many of you have or are still facing each and every day. And that's why we have to bow before you. Because it takes a true master. It takes someone with a tremendous amount of personal integrity just to be here. And it's not that there is anything truly wrong or bad about Earth, quite the contrary. But you're just not comfortable being in such a dense reality. It literally restricts your freedom. We get that. And that's why so many of you have questioned staying here. That's why so many of you thought maybe it was time to leave. Because this density being mass consciousness, a state of consciousness that is pretending to be just the mind. It denies you the opportunity to share and to perceive a much broader perspective of life itself. So let's take a breath there. Because we know who we are speaking to. We know who stands before us, sits before us. It's no mystery to us who you are. If this planet was like a towering redwood tree, beautiful redwood tree, so many of you would feel at home if you were living at the crown of such a tree. Because it would offer you that overview. Much like the energy that is at the very top of your head, giving you a much broader perspective of life. But most of humanity resides at the base of such a tree, not in the roots, because if they were in the roots, at least there they could feel how Gaia is also supporting their life. And you know how that feels. You've done that for yourself, allowing yourself to deeply go into the roots of this planet, the energy that extends from the center of this planet coming up in support of you. But most of humanity, it's just barely above the ground. Using this image of a beautiful redwood tree, they only see what is right in front of them. And it's an awkward place to be. To not be, or not allow yourself to be fully connected to this planet. It's awkward when so much of humanity has been presented with a story that would suggest that your freedom can only be realized, one, if God deems you to be worthy of it. Never met such a God. I've met a human mind that would suggest such a fallacy, but never met such a God. Or to suggest that your freedom will only come to you if you do leave this planet. And so there's a lot working against mass consciousness as it relates to wanting to be here, truly wanting to be here for the joy of it. It took us a while. It's taken each of you quite a few lifetimes to turn this human experience into what? From our perspective, into a full body relationship, allowing yourself to be deeply connected to the physical experience, deeply connected to the human body, allowing from the core of this earth all those crystalline energies to come up and also to support the physical body, while at the same time allowing those of us in the non-physical realms to share our own radiance as it comes through the top of your head, for this to become a full body relationship, and for you then to feel, and for others then to also feel the magnificence of who you are, the true radiance of who you are. Perceiving then the bigger picture from your own crown, while deeply connected to the roots of this physical reality. And so if that has always been the problem, then what is the solution? You are the living solution, because you have chosen to elevate your personal state of consciousness, despite whatever you inherited, despite what you might be seeing going on outside of you. You are the ones that have taken this to your own heart. And because you have, and allowed this to become a full-bodied relationship, a full-body experience, a full-body orgasmic relationship to all of life, your connection to life has dramatically shifted. For those of you who have chosen to make that real. Let's take a breath there. Sometimes Robert complains to me that the teachings that are coming through seem to him to be a little more ahead of their time. But that is not what I see as a creator. I see thousands of human beings right now that are this close to making that full-bodied relationship real. Because in making that real, it makes your life feel more fluid, more flexible, while at the same time downright terrifying for your mind. I see that in so many of you. You've allowed for these central energies, this orgasmic relationship to life, to become even more real. And the reaction from the part that's been pretending to be you, fear. Fear. But you are the ones, dear ones, who invoked these very potent but very natural energies, what we call the Christed energies, crystalline in nature. You invoked these, and you discovered that these Christed energies will not adapt itself. to whatever environment it is allowed to coexist within. You discovered that these Christed energies will not adapt themselves to whatever environment it is allowed to coexist within. The environment that has allowed such a state of consciousness must adapt itself to the Christ itself. Are you understanding what we are saying here, dear ones? You invoked this light. You invoked it. And you have allowed it. Each of you have discovered this in relationship to your physical carbon-based body. These Christed energies, they would not adapt themselves to a carbon-based body. That is not their natural state. They are crystalline in nature. It was the physical carbon-based body that had to adapt itself to this presence. Now, a lot of you complain that it is uncomfortable. Indeed, a lot of you complain that it is taking such a long time. But we would say, short of actually blowing up the body, it's going about as fast as it can go, and for it to become an integrated coexistence. Not just completely crystalline, but an integrated coexistence where the carbon-based body and the carbon-based cells begin to serve these crystalline cellular structures. Indeed, each of you discovered that these Christed energies will not adapt themselves to the environment that they are invited to participate in relationship to your own conditioned human mind. How is that going? How is that going? It's a little awkward, at least initially for the mind, but for some of you, you've noticed that the mind finally feels what? A little relief. The mind, in service to you as the soul, has tried its best to pretend to be enlightened. It's tried everything it knows to become more of an improved version of itself, hoping that there be some at least satisfaction, or hoping that that would be enough for who you are as a soul to get in the captain's chair of this life, to take ownership, to take responsibility for being here. The soul, that part of you that was set free by the eternal self. Robert is but one part of all the counterparts that I have set free from me as creator, as Michael. I gave him just as the Eternal One blessed me with all the same potentials that exist within the Eternal One. I too have those at my disposal. You too, human, as a soul, have the very same attributes at your disposal. The problem is your mind doesn't. It's too much for your mind to assume that kind of responsibility. But it's beginning to feel in so many of you something new. The soul really wants to be here. The soul that came in initially at the birth of the human body and then had an awkward relationship for many, many years with one foot in this physical reality and one foot in ours. More devoted to the non-physical because at least in the non-physical, the soul could still feel the presence of who it also is. It noticed, all of you noticed, that when you completely dive into this reality, there's a disconnect. And that disconnect is frightening, painful, awkward. But something awakened in your life, what you call your own awakening, your own spiritual awakening. Something got triggered to remind you that you're more than just the mind. And that gave your soul the freedom to step forward, to come forward, to come out of that kind of hibernation state, that cocoon that protected it from the harshness of this reality. You noticed that when you invoked the Christ, it changed the relationship you have to this human spirit, which is the expression of your own soul stepping forward. Thankfully, for all of life, not just you, these Christed energies are also infused with a very deep sense of what? What have you felt from this presence? Did any of you feel any demands placed upon you? Did any of you feel that there was any agenda connected to these Christed energies? Did any of you feel there were a set of laws that you must follow? Did all of you feel, at least eventually, that the overriding energy, the overriding presence of these Christed energies is compassion? Not sympathy. That's what you get from the rest of humanity that's disconnected from their soul. But compassion. Compassion. It is this compassion that doesn't allow these Christed energies to just move into any reality. There is no force involved with the Christ. They must be allowed. Asking isn't enough. Oh, so many of you have tried that. You've asked, you asked, you asked, you asked. But if it's just mental, or if it's just the wounded heart, it isn't enough. There needs to be a more vulnerable openness. Vulnerability actually ends up being a virtue. Praying alone won't do it. Oh, a lot of you tried that too. Praying, meditating. But praying, meditating, praying tends to be coming from a place of lack, coming from a place of the emotions that your mind created to serve it. Praying is asking for something that's already there. Meditating is more of a receptive place. But the way that meditation has been practiced here on this planet has so much more to do with focusing and becoming a mental preoccupation. If meditation were truly allowing, well, then it would work. It would truly work. Demanding that the Christ present itself, you've noticed that didn't cut it either. But really, it came down to what we've been teaching for 25 years and others as well, that's at the, well, others have called it the cutting edge. And that's a very appropriate term. It is at the cutting edge. Because allowing, that does the trick. Every single time. The problem that faces not just all of you here on earth as human beings, but all of creation in this relationship to these Christed energies that are already free, is that very few beings actually know how to allow. Awkward, isn't it? Awkward. Each of you know what we are speaking of. You've tasted the very resistance to allowing firsthand, primarily as it comes from your own mind. Because allowing to your mind is just a nicer word for surrender. It's just a nicer word for surrender. And to your mind, if it's all about surrender, well, then it just sounds like you're giving up the good fight. Then what's the value of the mind itself? What value does the mind have in relationship to this human experience if it is just about giving up the good fight? The mind has been so determined to be of service to all of you by doing the battle for you. Take a breath there. We're at this place in relationship with the mind. You already recognize this. And I'm speaking to those that are listening to this now and in the future. Do you not feel, dear one, that your mind is completely exhausted playing this game called pretending to be you? Pretending to be you. It's kind of embarrassing for your mind, a little bit for the soul. It's trying the best it can to at least appear to have its act together. The best it can. If it could do better than what it's doing now, it would be doing better. But it's doing the best it can to at least appear from the outside in that it looks like you got your shit together. And the scariest part for any human being is realizing that what you think you are and what has been supporting what you think you are is actually not you. It's your mind, who is here to serve you, soul. This is not some kind of conspiracy. In a way, it relates more to just physics. Not perceiving the bigger picture, using that analogy that we gave about the redwood tree, how you relate to your own physical body in the same way. The real you is what so many of you are now just beginning to truly allow to be a part of your life. And that's why we started today's session by talking about the incredible courage it takes to allow you, that non-physical being that you also are, to now coexist with that part of you that has been pretending to be you. This is impossible if you don't also have a heartfelt relationship to allowing with your soul. It simply isn't possible for this to unfold solely from a mental perspective. You just end up creating more mental constructs. Or, from your mind's perspective, you want me to continue to be responsible for your mind, says your mind. Then I guess the next step here is to create an even more improved version of me. Let's call that AIs. And that's coming. Well, it's actually here. It's what's managing all of your newer vehicles. It's what's managing all your mobile devices, all your computers. It's what will feel that it's service to you as a human if you're not going to allow the soul to come in, or if the soul is unwilling to get in the captain's chair and take responsibility for being here, then the AI is a reflection of that choice. Let's approve upon ourselves. Let's create a better version of the mind, an external version of the mind. And this is where we find so many of you at a type of crossroad here. Leaving behind friends you've known that have got to know you while you were pretending to be you, playing the game, the mind. Leaving behind family members where you can see them now more clearly as you look from the crown of this tree, from a more expanded view, that they are completely disconnected from their own soul. They got so seduced by the game. Not that the mind has that agenda to try to do that to you, to push against the soul in that way, but if the soul's not going to get in the captain's chair, somebody's got to take command of this vessel, this body. You're leaving behind all of humanity now, so as not to get distracted during this most delicate, most fragile transition into being you in capital letters also. The real you. It was over 25 years ago, through Robert, that I, Michael, asked a very simple question. At that time, to a very small group of people that were sitting in front of us. I asked them, are you ready now to let life love you back? It was a very general statement, so as really not to upset the mind. But then we made it very personal several years ago. And sitting in front of another group of people online, a much larger group, I asked that group, as I'm asking you, are you ready to let your eternal self, your I am presence, to love you back? For that allows what? That allows our energetic radiance to serve you and just you. You are inviting into your life that extension of who you are that already knows how to create, that has no doubt, does not worry, no concerns, has no fear. It is then through you that you end up serving this planet, through your radiance, serving this solar system, this universe, through your radiance in all of creation, through this very radiance. And then you act. Then whatever you act upon is blessed by this radiance. Now, 25 years seems like a long time to wait, but if I asked Robert, he would say quite clearly that it feels like just a blink of an eye. How did that go by so fast? It's true for all of you. It's true for that original group that we asked 25 years ago. Are you ready to let life love you back? But let's make it personal. Are you ready to let your eternal self, your I am presence, to love you back by allowing it? By allowing it so that you can feel and experience that love to come into your life. Our service to each of you now is to help you to feel safe, to allow us to now serve you, just you, to help you to experience all the benefits when you move out of this game of pretending to be the mind pretending to be you, and move into deeply feeling an orgasmic relationship with everything that you choose to experience here on earth. We know that's the challenge. The challenge for Robert and I. Because earth, on the outside of this vessel, this body, and this radiance, humanity is still stuck. And it can be awkward to be in this place of joy, this place of allowing life to love you back and to commingle with the rest of your human family. But that choice to allow this presence in your life now completes the circle. For how the energy that has always existed between us can now begin to flow. For so many lifetimes, all of you have been cut off from this flowing connection. And a part of you just can't believe the story of feeling disconnected is now ending. Doesn't mean your life is ending. Quite the opposite, my friends. Life, true living, is just beginning. It is a life that is filled with passion and joy. It is a life where doubt and worry and concern no longer play a part in your life. Hard to imagine that that could be real, but each of you did imagine it, and therefore it has become real. Indeed, it truly now comes full circle. Can you feel our joy? Can you feel our appreciation for this most sacred of reunions? It's been a long time. Or has it? Yesterday almost feels like a blink of an eye. Welcome home, dear ones. All of our blessings.